few people's.
Apologies. Valerie wanted me to record this meeting. If anyone has a problem, let me know.
Yeah, I wish John was here. I think that would make a fair amount of this helpful. Yeah, I don't know if we want to. Do we want to shoot him an email? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's just not aware we've started. I don't know if that's...
He might be out of off the grid.
Oh, really? Well, good for him. Awesome. Yeah, nice thing is though is that you know, the tax credit is going down in that, so that's wonderful. And if we could possibly shoot for workshops happening either very end of this year or beginning of next. Only downside of that is turnout for workshops going to be lower because it's, you know, not in that spring summer sort of season, you know, when you're starting to think about these sorts of things. So I think that's the trade-off. You know, so
okay, all right. Anything else on Solarized Meridian, or anything else you want me to put in here in the notes?
Well, I certainly think it's worthwhile doing it again. My sense in the workshop that I did was that there were a number of people who were genuinely interested, but just not quite ready. And I think a functional repeat of what we did could entice a number of other people to install solar. So I think it's a really worthwhile thing to do, with Rob's caveat about timing. I don't know what the best timing is, but for sure worth doing.
And I guess there's, I hadn't really thought of this, but, you know, Roger, I can't see the reason why, you know, why not host again? You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
I don't think, you know, we necessarily, I think John and I kind of were just assuming finding new systems and stuff, but like if you're saying people were kind of interested, but not quite there yet, I could see them wanting to attend again, even if it's the same host, just because then they're going to be much more confident going into it, already having some base knowledge.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, I have some pretty good news that the Inflation Act has the attention of several people at the township. Kate Madigan and David Gard from Five Lakes Energy gave a presentation at the Catalyst Community, the final presentation of the U of M students from the Graham Scholars Program. Anyway, long story short, they gave a good presentation about some of the opportunities out there. And Kate pointed out this grant application boot camp. And we have a couple of our staff people signed up for that, 4 of us actually, which is supposed to guide people in submitting some of the applications and approaching some of the different pots of money. So that is good news from an administrative point of view here, because I don't have the time to administer or even conceptualize a federal grant without some help. And I hope that some of you will be involved with that as well. If any of you are interested in being on that, being part of that boot camp, there's a potential of, you know, 2 or 3 hour commitment over the next month or 2.
Yeah,
so,
I think I would probably be interested in that.
Okay.
I think that's definitely a daunting sort of concept is, oh, how do you even apply for these things? And there's lots of great stuff out there, especially for, I'd like to know how to do that for, you know, like nonprofits, these types of things. And I know now too, with the new Inflation Act, there's a lot of possibilities out there for efficiency, for, you know, electrification, all sorts of great stuff. So yeah, that's great. 2 to 3 hours a couple times over the next month.
Yeah, I'll send you some more information about it. It was after we talked a little bit about it, it sounded like the energy efficiency, conservation block grant funds, and possibly the resilient infrastructure and infrastructure or charging and fueling infrastructure grants might be likely pots of money. Amber Clark with our economic development, neighborhood development program is interested in some transportation related funds that might relate to downtown Okemos. Anyway, I'll, if anybody else is interested, take a look at this website. I'll post it in the chat window, and we can go from there. But it's really a huge opportunity. Thank you, Bill, for clarifying the name of the act, which is kind of misleading. You're not misleading, but the name of the act is misleading. Doesn't really tell what it's all about. Anybody, anything else on that topic?
Leroy, I had a specific question. In a summary article that I read, one aspect of the bill is including direct payments for recouping the 30% federal support. So specifically, what it states is that nonprofits and governmental entities can put up a project like renewable energy project and get a direct payment of the 30% of costs rather than taking it off as a tax credit, which is the homeowners mechanism that has been in place until recently. And I'll give you a link to that. Let's see. Summary. Tassin Sardar pointed me to that site. It's from a nonprofit that does information about congressional legislation.
This is to nonprofits?
Well, specifically, it notes that direct payment has been suggested as a mechanism to stimulate investment rather than waiting to get a tax credit. And in any event, nonprofits, which would include houses of worship putting solar panels on their roof, but also other nonprofits and governmental entities would be eligible for that. Okay, let me see.
I have that, David. If it's the same link that was in your email, I can post it. I have that.
Yeah. Actually, that was in the. Let's see.
That's the article, which is amazing, David. By the way, and I'm very interested in seeing the practicality of that, because if that works in practice, that's pretty substantial. That's amazing for churches and government entities and you name it.
And presumably for Meridian Township and other places.
Yeah, I mean, non-taxable entities. I mean, I definitely going to do a deep dive into this, but
you know, the one that I was thinking, it's so the Solar Power World Online is one, and the other one was this bipartisanpolicy.org summary site. Oops, wait a minute. There's something wrong with.
I think that takes you to like the main page.
Yeah, I don't know why it's. Oh, wait a minute. I think I've posted it twice. It was giving me a 404. Yeah, here we go. Inflation Reduction Act Summary Energy and Climate Provisions. This was posted by the nonprofit on August 4. Are other people able? Oh, I see. wait a minute.
I think that the link you had sent there takes you to the main page of Bipartisan Policy Center. So I don't know if that's one you meant.
Try this one. I'd somehow gotten 2 copies of it in there.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah,
Leroy, that most recent.
As you scroll through that, they have somewhat a detailed breakdown of impacts, and specifically with direct payments to nonprofit. So I think that would certainly, I mean, for Meridian Township, for all of the investments made by the township, it was not able to take advantage of the tax credit structure. Is that correct, Leroy?
That's my understanding.
Okay, so just imagine that 30% of the costs for future projects would be immediately rebated, essentially deducted from the cost. That would really stretch.
That's groundbreaking. That changes everything.
But I think I need somebody who, I need somebody who's who knows the ins and outs of the legislation to say, yes, that's exactly how it works.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for pointing that out. And as we learn more about this, according to Kate and others, there's a lot of these programs are still being developed and the details have not been released yet, but it's going to happen fairly quick. So the more we can be ready to respond, the better. So thank you both for that. I guess related is this EV Communities Initiative, but is there anything else about the Inflation Reduction Act?
I mean, as it relates to MSU Central Project, I think those are sort of related just because, anything in the assessments could potentially receive that $300,000 in grant money through the act, and that goes towards any recommendations, efficiency or otherwise, which is amazing. So it's all sorts of stuff in that act.
Good point. Roger, since you suggested adding this to the agenda, would you like, I'll pull up the fact sheet, but if you would like to just give a brief intro about what sparked your interest, no pun intended.
Yeah, Leroy attached an email from Daniel Beard in the Michigan Municipal League to our meeting announcement that had to do with the EV Smart Communities program. And it seems like an appropriate thing for the township to get involved with. We did a remarkable job with Consumers Energy and the EV assessment for the township operations. And this EV Smart Community program would expand that to the entire township to include, the community. So there's a program funded actually by a variety of sources, but primarily GM, that allows communities to assess their current status for EV usage and come up with a plan for expanding EV usage, in our case, in the township. So since there's no cost to participate and there's some resources available, it seems like a really reasonable thing for the township to get involved with. And I'd be happy to help out by taking some leadership on that and contacting the Michigan Municipal League staff to see where we might go with that and get some township staff involved too if necessary. But I think it's primarily a community-based program. So I suspect that there will be some other community entities interested and involved in that. And I'm really excited about EV expansion and EV charging stations and developing EV usage in the township. So with that, I think it's worthwhile pursuing, and I can keep the energy team updated as we go. I think the primary meetings for that are going to be next month. So I'll get right on that.
Fantastic. You know Shauna Dryheim?
Oh, sure. Yeah. She and I have been friends for many years.
That's awesome. She and another person were very helpful when we got some EECBG, Energy Efficiency Community Development Block Grants about a decade ago, back when she was working for someone else, but she seems like a very resourceful person.
For sure.
I actually did send her a message asking about availability, but she never responded. So I think a follow-up call from you would be great, and also illustrate a more broad, commitment to this idea.
Yeah, I think I can get her to respond.
You know where she lives?
I do.
Awesome. Well, thanks for flagging that, Roger, and noticing it. And anything else on that EV communities piece? Table at the market, that's just an update. If anybody's interested, I know some of you have helped staff tables at the market, but we're going to be there on Saturday promoting the compost bin rain barrel sale. If you want to bring your worm bin, Bill, or just your Boolean personality and staff for 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours, we have a volunteer schedule. And you can also witness the gleaning project that's going on. That's sort of a spin-off of the Food to Compost Committee work. Dave Batten will be staffing our table, the green team table, and just have a variety of information available. So let me know if you'd like to, or just show up at the market and say hi. But if you'd like to put in an hour or so, let me know. It's a kind of a great way to just meet people, talk about energy, talk about green topics of interest, which I know you all like to do. I'm going to put my cell number here too, so I can be sure to answer your call when you call or text me. Moving on to the MSU project. A couple of you were involved with that meeting. We had a nice overview by the team at MSU. Thank you, Rob, for your networking. Rob's an advisor to the program. And
very exciting.
The project looks fairly simple. We've signed up for pre-assessments, registered 3 buildings, South Fire, Public Safety, and the municipal building. So we're on their list, but we're waiting for a contact from them to set up the pre-assessment. But what might either of you, Roger or Rob, add to that?
I would just note that Rob mentioned earlier that the outcomes of the assessment come up with recommendations for energy efficiency in various buildings, apparently the 3 that Leroy just mentioned. And the exciting thing that Kristen mentioned was that any of the recommendations that come out of this program are automatically eligible for the funding that's coming through the Department of Energy from the Inflation Reduction Act for implementation. And that seems to me like a really huge deal. It's a 50% match program that isn't already set up, so there's more to come on that. But I think it's a major thing to township, because so far the townships funded all this stuff out of just general fund. And a 50% match is a really important thing if they're going to fund it out of general fund. So this is seems like a really, really good deal.
It's what, 300,000 per recommendation would be the max, I think. Or that could be, you could do multiple grants at the same facility. You could do efficiency, electrification, renewable energy and have 3 separate 300,000 grants, I believe. And that's my goodness, you could do so much with that so quickly. And when you say 50% match, Roger, was that, I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. I thought it was basically a dollar. I thought it was a dollar for dollar match up to 300,000.
Right.
That's a 50% match.
Up to, okay.
Yep.
Make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Or maybe I'm
That's a different way to say the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, and I think to add to this too, it sounds like these 3, and that's 300, yeah, per project, and it can be multiple at the same location, which is pretty amazing. But I think these 3 buildings obviously are great starts. Because this is a pilot program, it opens the door for a lot of kind of creative assessments where it doesn't have to necessarily be the sort of standard assessments. So like that does mean that there's opportunity for assessments at almost every building for free. And I was really pleased that they were willing to consider combining pump stations and stuff. That's pretty huge because I was worried all those individual ones might not qualify. Sounds like they can combine buildings as needed or in order to qualify, through the DOE. And then that could be, I mean, if they could provide some sort of path forward on more efficient pumping and stuff, I mean, that alone could be the biggest energy savings for the township of anything else, just because I know those pumps use so much. So, I mean, I think we're just kind of starting to explore the opportunity with this program, but there's a lot, and it extends into beyond the most obvious buildings and into all sorts of stuff, which is pretty amazing. We're lucky to have a pilot program in our backyard, basically, because there's only 9 of these in the whole country.
And I noted too that the energy efficiency aspect of this is really important to the township because we're going to have to do a lot of energy efficiency work to make up for the increased electricity usage for EVs over the next decade. If we're going to meet our goal of 100% renewable for electricity by 2035. So this is potentially a really important program for the township.
This could push it over the finish line, really, and make it all possible. Meeting our targets, and this is massive, and that's why at the end of that meeting, I wanted to just make sure we all kept in mind that we could apply this to all township buildings. So if we can get even some efficiency improvements from some of the lower consumption buildings, all those smaller improvements are going to add up, and that everything counts. And we'll have to look into this, but I wonder if you could do the 300K grant and potentially then still get a direct payment of the 30% credit, what David was talking about. I don't know if those can be combined. I mean, but at that point, you're practically having it paid for, which is amazing. Because then that 300, say if a project's 600,000 in value, 300 is applied, and then a 30% credit is applied on that. That's like basically the 80% of it has been paid, which is incredible. So yeah, I think we'll have to. But yeah, that's the question of can the grant application be combined with the nonprofit direct tax credit recoupment, which seems to be now a part of the new bill. And if we can combine those incentives, boy, that would be huge. Either way, one of the incentives would be massive because for past projects, that's not been there, neither of them. So either way, this is a huge step forward. And this bill in general, I think, is even better than I originally was. There's some stuff in there that empowers the EPA, and it's a little off topic, but it's exciting.
I think this will also be helpful as we talk with the township leadership about their budgets for the future year, because right now I don't believe there's money in the 2023 budget for EV charging or solar. I haven't seen the actual budget, but as we move forward, we want to be thinking about, you know, how this other federal support can kind of, how our tax dollars, our future budgets can leverage this federal support and
I
kind
think
of create a good return on investment, reduce other expenses as well, such as our energy bills. So
right. Either way, with the new bill, there's either going to be 80% of a project paid for, or 50% of the project paid for, in theory. So I mean, and that's up from 0 previously, because there was no incentives for nonprofits before. So the entire climate for this has changed overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Huge step forward.
Well, it's really helpful to have a team of experts such as yourselves to do the networking and to assist with cheerleading for some of these efforts. So thank you all. Is there anything else for the good of the whole here or the part? Great. Well, I look forward to talking with you more. If any of you are interested in being at the market, let me know. If you have any more specifics on Solarize, we can maybe talk more about that at our next meeting. But speaking of next meetings, we usually meet on the 2nd or 3rd. I think our next meeting is scheduled for the 15th of September. Is that cool with some of you or most of you?
Yeah, I works on my end. I don't know if that works for the rest of the team.
Okay. Any other personal stories or news or gossip, bad jokes that anyone wants to share before we sign off here?
No.
You guys got anything?
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Thanks,
weekend.
Leroy. You do the same. Thank you.
Thanks.